A monarch butterfly starts life as a tiny egg on a leaf. In just a few days, it hatches into a caterpillar. All it does is eat and eat and eat. It sheds its skin multiple times because it is growing so fast. But here is where things get weird. One day the caterpillar stops eating. It hangs upside down and turns into something strange, a chrysalis. Inside, its body completely breaks down. It liquefies. Everything it was is gone. Then, like magic, it rebuilds itself into something new. After about 2 weeks, the chrysalis cracks open. A butterfly crawls out. But wait, it cannot fly yet. Its wings are crumpled and wet. It has to sit still, pumping fluid into them. After a few hours, it finally takes off, soaring into the sky. From a crawling worm to a flying king. But if you think that is impressive, wait until you see the next transformation. This one starts with something so small, it is almost invisible. Imagine seeing something the size of a jelly bean. It is pink, blind, and looks unfinished. You would never guess this tiny creature will grow into one of the most powerful jumpers on Earth. A baby kangaroo called a joey is born shockingly small. It is hairless and helpless. But here is the crazy part. It has to climb. Right after birth, it crawls through its mother's fur, making its way into the pouch. And then nothing. For months, the joey stays hidden, feeding on milk, growing in secret. Little by little, it starts to change. Tiny arms and legs stretch out. Fur appears. It peeks out, getting its first look at the world. Then comes the big moment. It takes its first jump out of the pouch, but it is not ready yet. Scared, it dives back in. It takes weeks before it builds up the courage to leave for good. But once it does, there is no stopping it. That tiny jelly bean has turned into a powerhouse. Strong legs, huge leaps, and an unstoppable speed. From a helpless baby to a muscular athlete. But this next transformation is even weirder. Some animals start small and stay small, but not this one. This creature never stops growing, ever. Meet the ocean sunfish. When it hatches, it is tinier than a fingernail, but that does not last long. A baby sunfish grows at an insane speed. In just a few months, it is already huge, and it keeps going. An adult sunfish can weigh over 5,000 pounds. That is heavier than a car. And it is not just big, it is bizarre. It has no tail, just a giant flat body with fins sticking out. It looks like a floating head. But here is the craziest part. A sunfish lays up to 300 million eggs at once, the most of any vertebrate on Earth. Most do not survive, but the ones that do turn into ocean giants, from a tiny speck to a swimming tank. But if you think that is impressive, wait until you see this next transformation. It is straight out of a fairy tale. We all know the story of the ugly duckling. A little bird laughed at for being different grows into something beautiful. But guess what? That is not just a fairy tale. It actually happens. Baby swans, called cygnets, look nothing like their parents. They are small, fluffy, and usually grey. Nothing about them says elegant or graceful. But give it time. As they grow, their bodies stretch. Their grey feathers fall out, replaced by pure white ones. Their necks get long and curved. And then, one day, they are unrecognizable. What was once an awkward little bird is now a stunning swan. And just like the story, it is a transformation no one expects. But if you thought that was dramatic, wait until you see this next animal. It never really grows up, and that is what makes it so strange. Some animals go through crazy changes, but what if I told you there is one that refuses to grow up? Meet the axolotl. This little amphibian is born in the water, like a tadpole. It has feathery gills, tiny legs, and a long tail. Normally, a creature like this would grow up and lose its gills, moving on to land, but the axolotl does not. It stays in its baby form forever. It never fully matures, and yet, it can still reproduce. Scientists call this neoteny, but here is the kicker. It can transform. In rare cases, an axolotl will suddenly grow up, lose its gills, and start breathing air, but most of them never do. Instead, they stay forever young, living their entire lives as giant water babies, a creature stuck in childhood. But our next animal changes so much, you might not believe it is the same species. Some animals are born cute. Others take time. And then there are flamingos. A baby flamingo is nothing like the elegant pink bird you know. It is small, grey, and kind of lumpy. Its legs are short, its beak is stubby, and its feathers look like a mess. If you saw one, you would never guess what it will become. So what changes? The secret is in its food. Flamingos eat tiny shrimp and algae that contains special pigments. Over time, those pigments build up in their feathers, turning them bright pink. But it does not happen fast. It takes years before a flamingo reaches its full colour. One day, that awkward little chick stands tall. Its legs stretch, its beak curves, and its soft grey feathers are replaced with glowing pink. A bird that once looked dull now stands out in the wild, from grey and lumpy to a pink icon. But if you think this transformation is strange, wait until you see a bird that grows wings so big it rules the skies. A baby albatross does not look like a future king of the skies. It looks like a fluffy ball of feathers, but give it time. When an albatross hatches, it cannot do much. It sits in a nest, waiting for food, and it waits a long time. Its parents take turns flying thousands of miles across the ocean just to bring back one meal. For months, the chick grows. Its fluffy down is replaced by sleek adult feathers. Its wings stretch longer and longer, and then comes the biggest challenge, the first flight. An albatross does not flap like a normal bird. It glides. But before it can do that, it has to jump. It climbs to the edge of a cliff, spreads its massive wings, and leaps. Some make it, some crash. But once an albatross masters flight, it will not touch land again for years. From a helpless chick to a master of the wind. But now, let's go from the skies to the water and meet a creature that can change its entire shape. Some animals grow, some change colour, but the octopus does both and more. It is nature's ultimate shapeshifter. A baby octopus is no bigger than a grain of rice. It drifts through the ocean nearly invisible, but as it grows, something incredible happens. Its body transforms. An octopus has no bones. It can squeeze through tiny cracks, stretch its arms, and even change the texture of its skin. One moment it is smooth, the next it is covered in bumps. But the real magic is in its colour. With special cells in its skin, an octopus can become red, white, blue, or even completely invisible. It does not just grow, it evolves. It adapts to whatever the ocean throws at it, from a tiny floating speck to a living illusion. But our next animal takes transformation to another level. It starts as a little ball of fluff and becomes one of the fiercest hunters in the world. A baby snow leopard looks like a house cat, soft fur, big round eyes, and tiny paws. But do not be fooled. This little fluff ball is born to be a predator. In the first few weeks, a snow leopard cub is helpless. It cannot see, it cannot walk, and it relies entirely on its mother. But it is growing fast. Within a few months, its body changes. Its legs get longer, its paws grow massive, and its muscles become stronger. It starts climbing, jumping, and chasing anything that moves. By the time it is ready to leave its mother, it is a completely different animal. A full-grown snow leopard can leap over 50 feet in a single bound. Its once soft baby fur is now thick and built for survival in freezing mountains, from a tiny puff to a silent killer. But let's switch things up. The next transformation is not about becoming a hunter. It is about becoming something totally unexpected. Some animals grow bigger, others grow stronger, but the parrotfish? It changes its entire face. When a parrotfish hatches, it looks like any other little fish. But as it grows, its body transforms. Its colours shift from dull to bright, flashing shades of blue, green, and pink. But that is not the craziest part. Its mouth turns into something completely unique. A parrotfish's teeth fuse together, creating a beak strong enough to bite through coral. It chomps down, grinds up the coral, and spits out fine white sand. Believe it or not, parrotfish help create beaches. And that is not all. Many parrotfish can change sex. A female can transform into a male when needed, completely shifting its role in the reef. From an ordinary fish to a coral-crushing, shape-shifting wonder. But if you think that is strange, the next animal goes through a transformation that makes it look like two completely different creatures. A baby emperor penguin does not have an easy start. It hatches into one of the harshest environments on Earth. Freezing winds, endless snow, and no food in sight. The chick is small, covered in soft grey fluff, and completely helpless. It cannot survive on its own. Its parents take turns keeping it warm, tucking it under their bodies, shielding it from the icy cold. For weeks, the chick grows. Its downy fluff is replaced by sleek black and white feathers. Its tiny beak sharpens. Then, one day, it is time to leave. The young penguin waddles toward the ocean, taking its first steps into a new world. At first, it struggles, but soon it learns to swim, to dive, to hunt. That tiny fluff ball is now a sleek, powerful bird that can stay underwater for minutes and travel for miles, from fragile to fearless. But if you think that is tough, the next animal goes through a transformation that turns a simple pond dweller into a beast. A bullfrog starts life as something small, a tiny black dot in the water, a creature with no legs, no lungs, and no chance on land. For weeks it stays like this, swimming, eating, growing. Then, suddenly, things start to change. Its tail begins to shrink. Little bumps appear where legs will be. The gills vanish, replaced by lungs. Then, one day, it crawls out of the water. It is no longer a tadpole. It is a bullfrog, but it is not done growing yet. Over the next few years, this frog becomes massive. It can grow bigger than a human hand, with a mouth wide enough to swallow birds, mice, and even other frogs, from a tiny swimmer to a giant predator. But now, let's go from the swamp to the skies and see how one of the most powerful birds on Earth starts life as a weak and fragile chick. A bald eagle is one of the most powerful birds in the world, but when it hatches, it looks nothing like the fierce hunter it will become. A baby eagle is small, fluffy, and weak. It cannot fly. It cannot hunt. It sits in a giant nest, waiting for food, and it waits a lot. As the weeks go by, its feathers change. The soft down is replaced by dark brown feathers. Its beak sharpens. Its talons grow longer, but it still is not ready. It takes months before it can even attempt to fly. The first time it will probably fail. It will flap, struggle, and maybe even crash, but it gets back up. It keeps trying. By the time it is fully grown, it is unstoppable. It soars through the sky, spotting prey from miles away, diving at speeds of over 100 miles per hour, from helpless to hunter. But if you think that is impressive, the next animal does something even crazier. A baby wolf is adorable, soft fur, big ears, and eyes filled with curiosity. But in just a few months, this playful pup will become one of the wild's most skilled hunters. At first, the pup stays in the den, too weak to survive outside. It relies on its mother for food and protection, but it does not stay small for long. Its legs get stronger, its teeth sharpen. It starts playing rough, wrestling with its siblings. It is not just fun, it is training. Every pounce, every chase, every little bite is preparing it for the hunt. By the time it is full grown, it is fast, smart, and ready to lead the pack. The cute little puppy has become a deadly predator. But not all animals grow up to be hunters. Some just grow into something completely unexpected. The next transformation is about a creature that starts off looking like a harmless baby and ends up becoming one of the most powerful beasts in the wild. A baby grizzly bear is about as cute as it gets. Tiny, round, and covered in soft fur. But in just a few years, this little cub will become a force of nature. At birth, a grizzly cub is helpless. It is blind, weak, and no bigger than a squirrel. It spends months nursing and growing in the safety of the den. But when spring comes, it is time to face the world. The cub follows its mother everywhere, learning what to eat and how to survive. It plays, climbs, and wrestles with its siblings. It grows fast. Its muscles build. Its claws sharpen. By the time it is fully grown, it can weigh over 800 pounds and stand taller than a person. It is no longer a helpless cub. It is one of the strongest animals in the wild, from tiny and fluffy to a massive powerhouse. But if you thought that was big, wait until you see an animal that starts off smaller than a house cat and grows into the largest creature to ever live. The largest animal on Earth starts off smaller than you might think. A baby blue whale is massive compared to most creatures, but it is nothing compared to what it will become. At birth, a blue whale calf is about 20 feet long. That is big, but it is just the beginning. This baby drinks over 100 gallons of milk every single day, and it grows fast. In a single day, a blue whale can gain nearly 200 pounds. In just a few months, it doubles in size. By the time it is fully grown, it can reach nearly 100 feet in length and weigh more than 400,000 pounds. That little calf has become the true giant of the ocean, the biggest creature to ever exist. But now let's go from the biggest animal to one that changes in a way most people would never expect. Some animals grow into beauty, others not so much. The baboon starts life as a cute little infant, but as it grows, its face changes in a way that might surprise you. A baby baboon has a soft pinkish face with big, round eyes. It looks almost human-like, but as it grows, something strange happens. Its snout gets longer, its skin darkens, and then, the most shocking part, bright colors start appearing. Adult baboons can have faces in shades of red, blue, and even purple. Males develop huge canine teeth, longer than those of a lion. Their once small, harmless-looking faces now look fierce and intimidating. From a tiny, innocent baby to a powerful primate. But if you think that is strange, the next animal transforms in a way that completely changes its body shape. Most baby animals look like smaller versions of their parents, but not the glass frog. This little creature starts life as something completely different. A glass frog begins as a tiny egg stuck to a leaf above the water. When it hatches, it is not a frog at all. It is a tadpole, no legs, just a wriggling tail. It drops into the water and disappears. For weeks it stays hidden, growing little by little. Then it starts to change. Its tail shrinks, its legs appear, and then, the craziest part, its skin becomes see-through. As an adult, the glass frog is almost invisible. You can literally see its heart beating inside its body. A creature that starts as a tiny blob in the water becomes one of the most unique frogs in the world. But now, let's go from nearly invisible to something so colorful, it looks unreal. Some animals grow bigger, some change color, but one creature transforms so much it is hard to believe it is the same species. Meet the European eel. It starts as something called a leptocephalus, a tiny transparent creature floating in the ocean. It looks like a ghost, but then things start to change. It grows into a small, wriggling fish. Then it moves from salt water to fresh water, turning into something completely different. Its body thickens, its skin darkens. It becomes an adult eel. But the transformation is not over yet. At the end of its life, the eel changes again. Its eyes grow larger, its body silvers, and it heads back to the ocean to spawn. Then, just like that, it vanishes. From a ghostly larva to a powerful swimmer, this creature is nature's ultimate shapeshifter. And there you have it, 20 of the most incredible animal transformations on Earth. Some grow huge, some change shape, some never stop evolving, but they all prove one thing: nature is full of surprises.